Hello, everybody! If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, but not much lately, is my co-host Tyler. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Sound like it's so weird. Yeah, doing this. I had to figure out my setup, make sure you could hear me. And I came in last time it was just you and me. Look
Yeah,
at
I know,
us.
right? Yeah, it's
Just the
good.
two of us.
Good to have you back. I know you were a little under the weather for a little while, but you're back now.
Yeah.
You're looking good. You're looking strong, hale and hearty, ready to go.
We're still going in opposite directions. You skinnier, me something different. So still gotta work on that. I'm gonna bring that up every time. Not that I'm
I'm
self-conscious
trying.
or
We're
anything.
trying. We got more
Yeah.
work to do. But today we're going to talk about specifically a project you've been working on, Tyler.
Yeah, man.
Specifically, we're going to talk about new battle plans. We're going to talk about Warcoda. And Tyler, you've done this once before, so you're going to introduce a rich new series of battle plans to our ecosystem and allow people to play with these. So that's very exciting.
Indeed.
One of the things I know you said you hadn't caught up on the show last week, which I understand you were under the weather. No issue
Yeah.
there. And
A
so
lot of people reach out to me. Hey, have you seen the show? See the show? See what Vince or Tom like? They're doing a lot of complaining. Like, well, that's a big part of their shtick. I mean,
that is
that's
a big part
the
of our shtick, yeah. When Tom and I get together. But, it's funny because one of the things that we talked about on the show last week was the criticality of battle plans. Like, in my mind, it is the central most important thing. I really believe in the importance of scenarios, of battle plans, of having interesting things to do, of having them be, like, having lots of options and dynamism. I was a big proponent, like, last week of no matter what happens with the GHB, they should publish additional battle plans and, like, as, like, a mid-year update for free for events. Like, put out another event pack mid-year or something for free, right? Like, that kind of stuff. And so, because they've refused to do what we say, even though we're clearly right, Tyler has stepped in here at the mid-year point to introduce a new suite of exciting battle plans that harken back to battle plans of yore with some new twists and flavors mixed in as well.
Yeah, very much based upon, like, pretty much all of these are based around past GHBs. Twist, updates, refreshes. Yeah, so.
Love it. So that's what we're going to talk tonight. But of course, first, the news.
The news. All right, we got a long news segment here.
We
See how
do. A
quickly
lot of
we can get
stuff.
through this. Rumor engine, which I talked about it and I hadn't pulled up. So while I'm doing that, you want to tell me what you think it is?
Oh, yes, that's fine. We can jump over here to the rumor engine. I'll also answer a question in the chat. Neil asks, hey guys, I have a question. If I use other giants in a Sun's army, does size matter? I assume you mean like off-brand giants. No, not really. You want them on the base is what matters. They need to be on that 130 mil round. I mean, that being said, it would be funny if you use like an old school little tiny metal giant on that giant base. It's going to look kind of dumb. But no, you could, like, there's plenty of other third-party giants that are like slightly smaller or slightly bigger, and that's all fine as long as they're on the right base. Nobody's gonna care. Okay, cool. All right. So, rumor engine. It's a dumb rumor engine. It's a cloak with some stains on it. There you go. That's what it is. I don't care what it is because it's a slightly raggedy cloak. It could literally be hundreds of things in any range.
Yeah. All right. Very good.
This is one of the least exciting rumor engines in the history of rumor engine.
That's really saying something. So we've got Armies on Parade returns. What's that all about?
We do. Armies on Parade is back. They're talking about getting ready now. Apparently no Golden Demon. That's the rumor going around. We'll see. We will report it live whenever we get confirmation on that. But no, that is to say in the UK this year or whatever. But who knows what's going to happen. And I guess, time will tell. But we do have an Armies on Parade. And so they, talking about setting up your board, showed some of the past winners. If people are interested in that sort of thing, hey, get into it. It's going to be a good time. Always love to see the full armies displayed. It's one of the reasons we play this game. Have a beautiful army all laid out and stuff. So, yep.
Beautiful army. I'm gonna be good. I don't need to be bad. Like just a few minutes into the show.
You can do whatever you want, buddy.
Okay. All right. So old world PDFs and FAQ.
That's right. So the old world PDFs for the other 9 armies or whatever it is that aren't like the legacy armies, I guess is what they're calling them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The not official stuff. But like it's there. You can use it. How long is it fully playable? Who knows? It won't be acceptable in GW events, but my guess is most other TOs will allow it completely without issue. So this is stuff like Dark Elves and Skaven and Chaos Dwarves and so on and so forth.
Right.
So those all came out. And yeah, all looking good. I mean, like I said, we will do some army shows in the future on some old world armies. I'm already cooking a little on that. But then they also had an FAQ. And Tyler, I have to say, their FAQ was really good. It was really good. First of all, it was an FAQ. Now, in a book with 250 pages of rules, 250, you'd think you'd cover everything you need to cover, but no, of course, there still has to be an FAQ because no game can ever be perfect, and that's fine. Yeah. I wouldn't expect it to. Surprisingly, very light on any kind of errata. Not really much in the way of changes or anything like that. It was mostly just clarifications. You know, it gets into like some of the silliness and goofiness you're dealing with these sort of like rank and flank and quote unquote realistic games or whatever, like whatever the heck that even means. You know, like, so I'll give you a funny example from the FAQ, Tyler. You ready? Here we go. One of the rules out of the old world is if you're on a hill, you can see over things. Like you can see over other troops. It gives you clear line of sight. They do have very nice terrain rules in the old world. Okay. But then the question came up of, can multiple units on a hill see over top of each other? So what if both units are on the hill, right? Sure. And the way hills are is just like, in actuality, it's like a boop, flat thing, boop, right? Like it's you've seen the old hills, right, when they were still used. And their answer was, whoever's closest to the center can see over everybody else, and then so on from there.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So like literally you're up on like, they were like, imagine it's a real hill. Now where is the person standing? Can you see over the person in front of you, right? Which is a funny answer. But like logical, I guess, simple enough. It would be funny to measure like the center of this hill. But they also had some good comedy, good spirit, good jokes in the FAQ. They actually gave like a lot of detailed responses, not just no or yes. They would say like yes and this is why, which I very much appreciated. So good FAQ writing there. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of those no answers in the past.
Yeah, I hate that. Yeah. I have lambasted that for years. Give an explanation. Yeah. Tell people how you're thinking, and that will help alleviate future questions.
Yeah. One thing I was curious whether so I've got a lot of Warhammer Weekly content to catch up on, since I haven't been on the show in a while. I was curious with the rules. Does the old world allow you to have a model like hanging off a building, you know, a foot up in the air? And just
just standing on the side of a building? No.
Yeah, like how AOS does. No. Still technically in the core rules.
That is still technically in the core rules, but no,
All right.
It's not.
Oh, that's good to hear.
So sadly, that's no hanging off the side of buildings. So unfortunate. What's next?
Got some more old world stuff. Orcs and goblins.
That's right. The OGs. Orcs and goblin tribes. We've got their little battalion, just chocked full of old models. Nothing new here in this box set. It's just a bunch of old orcs and goblins.
Some of those still look pretty good, man. I was surprised at how well, at least in my opinion, some of those hold up.
They're okay. They're okay. I'm gonna be honest. They're a little goofball. Like those goblins' heads. If you blew them up to like actually be the size they're supposed to be, they would be terrifying solely based on the size of their heads. So you know, there you go. But hey, that's cool. The important part about this is this also means the release of their Expandopedia. So you'll get the additional rules for orcs and goblins. And there was also two new characters. So there are new. These are both in resin. But you got this guy, so two new sculpts. And this guy is pretty great. Looks very much in line with a lot of what we've seen recently out of both, like, honestly, 40K and fantasy works. So always fun. It's always funny to me how we all just accept that orcs' necks work differently than human necks. Okay? Like, a human's head sits here on top of their body, and we all are fine with that. An orc's head is like this, out of the front of their body. And we're just like, yeah, there we go. No, Hades, I did not do an LVO show because there was nothing really to talk about. We'll talk about it a little at the end. But I think this guy looks great. He's really, I really like a lot of these old world models they're making, man.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, looking good.
This is a little busier than some of the other stuff, but you could change that. I
Mm,
would get rid of these two little spikes on his back. I don't like that thing. I like just the
yeah.
core model. I think he's really good. And then you also have our little spellcaster boy here, who's wearing like a troll skin head on his head,
Mm,
which looks really funny. This guy is great. This guy has so much character. His little crab claw, skull staff, like his troll face helmet head wrap thing. I mean, like, this dude's really wonderful. This is one of my favorite orc sculpts they made in a long time. I think
yeah,
this guy's really
definitely.
good. So,
Quite sweet.
yeah. And then the one goblin putting the other goblin in the pot. It's just good
Nice touch.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I dig
So,
it.
yeah, good.
So, Expandopedia, are you talking about the Arcane Journals?
Yes,
Is that what
correct.
you're
The
referring?
arcane
Okay,
journals, yes. Yes, which
got
gives
it.
you like special characters and alternative army lists and stuff like that. Think of it like
Yeah.
your armies of renown for AOS, like we're getting in the Dawnbringer books. That's basically what you get in there. Like, hey,
Okay.
here's your army of exiles, or your, in Tomb Kings, it's like here's your priest armies. Like if you want to be the
Mm-hmm.
mortuary cult or something instead of the normal army. So, yeah.
Very cool. All right. So we have not had the LVO reveals discussed yet. I don't think you did a show
We
on
did
the
not.
LVO reveals. So yeah. Looks like you've got Zondra's Gravebreakers listed here first.
That is correct.
So
This is the new Death Gorge, the newest Underworlds thing. Uh, Here's a fun thing.
what's
Tyler,
that? Yeah.
what was the original Warhammer Underworlds subtitle name? So version
I
1.
remember it was Stormcast and Skellies.
No, not who was in it.
Was
What
it?
was the name? Like
Or
this
was
is
it
Warhammer Underworlds
name?
parens or sorry, colon
Nighthawk.
Death Gorge. Okay.
Okay.
What was it was Warhammer Underworlds colon what?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's so funny because it was Shadespire, and when it initially
That's
happened, we all just wanted to call it that all the time. Okay,
uh-huh.
and then but eventually they won out. They just kept switching the names, and now it's Underworlds. Like they got it to stick. I really thought in the original we all
Oh
just
yeah,
kept,
yeah, yeah.
into like version 2 and 3,
Yeah,
we kept
right.
calling it Shadespire,
That's
right?
right. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
But now, yes, Death Gorge, the longest and the newest name, their naming convention of naming these things vaguely sexually. And this is like, yeah, look, some interesting zombies. I mean,
Yeah.
it's certainly a unique cast of characters. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, not too bad looking.
if I
So we've got what else do we have? The new dock. Yeah, that Crone model. That's kind of sweet.
there she is.
Crone Hag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I
and
like
her
that.
backstory is like she's the one who she sees through Marathi's like both illusions and lies.
Mm,
She's a seer, right? And she knows that Kane is dead and Marathi's siphoning off all the power and blah blah blah, and she's not
yeah.
down with that. So she's kind of a antithesis to what
Mm-hmm.
Marathi is doing. So
Yeah, that's a sweet model.
yeah,
Again.
pretty interesting. The hair over the face thing with just like a little bit of her showing and all of that. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she's okay. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of people went nuts for this figure. I'm like okay with it. It's
Yeah,
fine.
there it is. First one of the day, the night. It's
Hmm.
fine.
It's fine.
Think this is going to be our last book, book 5.
Good question. So yes, of course, she is leading a force into Dawnbringer's book 5, Shadow of the Crone.
I mean,
Um, I don't know.
seems.
I don't know. This doesn't feel like the capper, right?
Mm. Oh, he's
Like,
got the shadow connection, obviously. You know, we're expecting to go into Realm of Shadows with the new
sure,
edition, all of
sure.
that. But yeah, maybe one more after this. I mean, seemingly we've got time for it.
I mean, I feel like there's still a book 6 on the other side of this. Like we're going
Mm.
deep. Okay. Um, I just like this doesn't feel like oh yeah the epic conclusion to the Dawnbringer story is a weird sub story about about this new lady who we've never
Sure.
heard of before,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Nah, that's fair.
So I feel like there has to be a book 6 on the other side of this, and
Mm,
that book 6 is like called Chaos Rising or Corgus's Revenge, Cole's Revenge, or
mm,
to slay the God Beast, or the Epoch of Ascension or something like that. Lots of fun
right.
names you could come up with, but
Yeah.
chaosy related stuff. So
Totally. Yeah, we talked a lot about that. Yeah, the expectation that there's going to be, yeah, one of these really, really dedicated around cool and everything. And so, yeah, probably make a lot of sense to conclude with that.
I agree. And
Yeah.
Cygnus Maximus said, I do wish they do one of these books every 6 months
Mm,
throughout the edition rather than shoehorning them into the end. I agree. I wish these things were just like constant narrative, cool stuff happening throughout the edition. Gareth said,
mm.
Flight of the Valkia. Yes, quality. I dig it. There you go.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, that would have a lot better pacing about it than absolutely cramming everything in here.
Hmm.
Oh, what else did we have? We've got, let's see, Dombinger Book 5. We had Callus and Toll? Yeah, Callus and Toll.
Oh
I
yeah, I didn't put
definitely,
them in there. Yeah, but they're also we got the Callus and Tool
yeah,
models too. I didn't even
yeah,
grab them. They're
they
fine.
looked
They're cool.
pretty good.
They
Yeah.
have like a warband. It's fine. I like Callus and Toll a lot. I honestly was not super impressed by those models.
Mm.
That's why it slipped my mind that they were there. So, but it's fine. They
There's
were
also
good.
the Warcry box with Night Haunt and the expected River sub or whatever. It's the what's that called? The Elementari, I think those are called.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So, yes, we have the new Callus and Toll models and their warband, which were okay. Put it in the chat if you disagree. Who was? Here's what I want to know, chat. People watching this, who was really into the Callus and Toll warband? Like, are you picking that up? That's a must buy for you. So, okay, I'm legitimately curious because they're very popular characters, but I don't know, something about the sculpts just didn't land for me. Now and then, yes, you're the River Folk versus the Fiery Ghosty Boys, right?
Yeah.
What'd you think about that? What'd you think about that box?
I mean, I really love the Night Haunt. I mean, I know for some folks, like you see one ghost, you see them all. But yeah, I think they're very dynamic. I love how they're painted. They look great. Looks to be a sign of what generally was expecting a Night Haunt expansion that we're going to be seeing. Maybe this year, but certainly in fourth edition. And then the river looks pretty good. Seeing them up close, these LRL models, they look better than yeah the initial photos. I don't know. They're quite LRL are so tiny. Like it seemed like they'd just be a pain in the ass to paint an army of this stuff. How small these models are and detailed. But yeah, I think some of them are pretty nice.
Yeah, the LRL that had the full like Voorhees hockey masks and the
Right.
armor looked
Yes.
cool. The ones
Absolutely.
that were in like suspenders and jumpsuits where they're like, "Well, time to go out and fish in the river." It's just
You
like,
nailed it. Yeah.
okay,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. A
Uh,
lot of people coming
good.
out, by the way, for the Spy Mistress in Callus and Toll's
Mm,
Warband, which I will agree with everybody there. The best model in that whole cohort was weird old spy lady with her like weird cat.
yeah.
That was the standout model. I don't disagree with that. So like
Definitely.
we are in alignment, chat, on saying that's like the killer model for all of those who thought that was the one in the group. It was just Callus
Yeah.
and Toll themselves. I don't know, man. Something about it was just like, yep, that's okay. There they are. I don't know. Yeah, but overall, yeah, we didn't do a show because I was like, okay, it's
Yeah.
fine. It wasn't anything that exciting. It was a bunch of little ancillary stuff, like the next book that we knew we were gonna get. I didn't expect it to be like a Doc crone lady with hair covering her eyes, but
Hmm. Right.
um, but all in all, it's just
We
like
thought it was going to be that chaos book. So
right,
yeah.
yeah. But nothing blew me away that I was like, well, I gotta call up Tom and Tyler at 1 a.m. and we gotta
Right.
do a reaction show, right? So,
Yeah.
it was fine.
All right. Well, speaking of LVO, we had the largest Age of Sigmar Grand Tournament ever in the eight
Yes,
years of this lovely game. I think they
yes.
ended up like 360, something like
I thought it
that
was like
on the
three. I
actual
think they had 378 registered and somewhere in the 360s playing at the start or
360 the
something.
day
I think.
of.
Yeah, maybe it
Yeah.
was 380s registered. I don't know. It was
Yes.
huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah.
But yes, biggest in history. Huge event, obviously, with a like 5 full rounds and then the splitter round and then the top 8 cut for the final day there and everything. So
Yep.
effectively, you could have. It's possible you played 9 games of Warhammer. I don't think anybody actually did because I don't think that splitter game is how it worked. Don't remember. There you go. Gareth said 343 players, 416 tickets sold. Thank you, Gareth. Much appreciated.
Nice.
I'm just going to give a shout out to all the TOs, the hardworking TOs who were running that massive event. You know who you are. Looking right at you. And it was absolutely, absolutely just a heroic effort. And everything I heard was that it was run very well, very clean. Everybody had a great time. So, and that's because of the incredibly hard work. Oh, there you go. Gavin did play all 9. Okay, cool. There you go.
Nice.
Gavin had to play 9. Boy, that is the baton death march of Warhammer. Like, I'll tell you what. 3 games, 3 days in a row. Woof. I love Warhammer. I don't think I love Warhammer that much. I really don't. I really don't. I think we'd hit my limit.
We've been talking for a while. We really got to get him on the show. I've talked with him in the past, and I love his takes on Twitter. Sometimes he'll write these tweets and just spot on. He had one today or the other day that was just perfect.
Now, if history serves my memory correctly, I believe. So you're saying you now know?
I now know who he is.
Who Gavin is? Yes. Okay, got it. Right.
You know, he only had to win ITC a couple of times and go 5-0 a couple dozen times.
This is like this one honest mistake you made one time in your life.
One time, right?
And just absolutely will not let it go. Yeah.
And you wonder why I'm so trained to be careful and sometimes that's what happens.
Gareth said I beat him to it. Yeah, we were both coming for you immediately. Speaking of the winner, let's talk about it a little bit here. I've got the list. So this is Jeremy, who was the winner. Jeremy played Gavin in the finals. It was a cities on cities throwdown. Orders galore being bandied about, or as I call them, trap cards. Command Point 2, Electric Boogaloo. So...
You want to take a shot at that last name of Jeremy's?
Nope. Sure don't. Sure do not.
Rob nailed it on his show on Monday.
Well, how is it pronounced? I
actually don't know.
Okay. That's fine. And I agree. I'd love to have Jeremy on the show as well. Look, I spend basically all of my time on here butchering pronunciation. I don't want to do it to a perfectly nice guy who just won. That's not cool. But this was his list, which I thought was a very good list. It's very nice. It wasn't, I think, what people expected. Absolutely no shade thrown at Gavin, but I think he was playing the thing more people had been talking about. Again, that's not a negative in any way. Please do not read any connotation into that. But it was like the stank heavy list, right? So lots of steam tanks, stuff like that. And but this, in the Misthaven with banners held high as the strat. Which has ended up being how he clinched it, right, by the grand strat.
Yeah, they were 18-18, and then Jeremy got the grand strat. Gavin was not able to. We had
the Warforger, Haskell Hexbane. Who saw that coming? Hot pick there. I like that. Zenestra, who I think obviously you're gonna, the Warforger and Zenestra are pretty much what you'd expect. The Marshal on Griffin, he's seeing a lot of play. You do see him around quite a bit as a mobile piece. Especially in these Misthaven lists. Yep.
Such a good hammer. Yeah.
Absolutely. The Cavalier Marshal, Steel Helms, Cavies, the Wildecorp's Hunters, Hexbane's Hunters, and then the Van Densts. And two, count 'em, Free Guild Command Corps, a thing that should not be legal, but is still somehow legal to only allow 2 Free Guild Command Corps. GW, listen, talking directly to you from now on.
This is on the bingo card. When I make that bingo card, this is absolutely on the bingo card, talking to GW. All right.
From now on, when you make a unit, and it's a unit of weirdo, idiosyncratic goobers, okay? Limit 1. They're unique. Because how many of these groups of idiosyncratic weirdo goobers are just floating around the cities waiting to join up in the exact same combination of idiosyncratic weirdo goobers. You understand? Like, everybody, did you bring your one assassin, your one healer, your one this and that? Like, stop it. How many of these strange D&D parties are just floating around with the exact same construction ready to join? I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Amen. Well,
so, there you go. Yes.
It's
wigs. Weirdo idiosyncratic goobers. Wigs. Yes, thank you.
It helped out. Gareth was running a narrative event. Vince, he comped it so that you could not double up on the healing on a unit. So thankfully, that helped out. He's on board with the Midwest culture nowadays, I guess. Comping things, making up his own rulings, right? So
he's clearly ready to go his own way. But the reality is, yes, that's good. I think that's a nice step in the right direction. It's still unbelievably oppressive to have multiples of these things. They can both pass out their healing. You've got the command point thievery going on left. Well,
75%. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's
something
rough.
What do you say? I'm not checking comments.
I'm watching it. Yeah, his response was, "You are dead to me." Solid. At any rate, this is a great list. I really like it. Obviously, the Cavaliers are very strong. He could, even though he couldn't heal the same unit, he could heal each unit of Cavies to make sure they're staying in the fight. They hit hard. The movement in this list is absolutely incredible. Just because, like Misthaven with that extra 2d6 movement, like it's just absolutely fantastic. You've got so many mounted things here that can take advantage of that.
He's got it set up.
Pre-game moving. It's great.
Sorry to interrupt. So you're emphasizing the mobility, right? So it's set up. I mean, a lot of people might know, but you can do triple activation with that setup. Yeah. So Misthaven, right? 2x5 Cav, your free guild marshal, your free guild Cavalier marshal, and your one on Griffin. So that could be 1x5 Cav, the one on horse, and the one on Griffin. Triple activation before your opponent does anything. Just a really fast, powerful, strong hammer that can blow through screens, right? Multiple layers, and so really interesting list. I love that number. I mean, one thought I had, I'm guessing one of the reasons why he leaned into that many heroes, those kind of heroes.
Sure.
So obviously there's some orders, exactly, to give out orders, like countercharging.
Yep.
The ability to tie up. I did see this in the game against Gavin. He was able to use those little small heroes at times to tie up steam tanks with a countercharging. That was really interesting.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. It's just like, it's that kind of stuff. I really love a list like this. I really like how he played, or like not only how he played this is certainly done by a really, really top player, but it's also just like a really creative list in the way it can answer the problems that are there, that are in the meta. So, I'm a big fan of it. Obviously Zinestra herself is a powerhouse and able to answer a lot of things and cause a lot of chaos all by her lonesome, especially when she gets out of, out of her starting zone and can start double chanting. So it's good.
While the core is a great choice, especially for LVO that has institutionalized, as many events have, Wildwood / Obscuring. So that you're always going to have at least 2 out of the 8 terrain pieces that you can take advantage of. That you're going to have some flat surfaces to take advantage with Wildwood core to make them not visible. Extra rend on the shooting. Anyway, amazing list. Did you take a look at like the top 10, top 20? I thought we had pretty good diversity in what was showing up.
It was okay. I looked at the top 8. I didn't look beyond the top 8. So, and a lot of names you'd expect to be up there. And using some lists that I expected to be there. Of course, we had Mr. Tom Guan, the legend himself, up there in the top 8 with his zombie spam, Soul Blight, still rocking it. In many ways, the big boy has never left. He's always offered the same great brains at affordable prices. And
turns out they don't like 5 steam tanks. They really don't like.
Turns out, yes.
But
yeah, it's just like, and it was an amazingly close thing. We did have, yes, exactly. There you go. The Cruel Boys showing up in the top 8. So it was
couple really great finishes there.
I do think it wasn't. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't bad. This is certainly, we had a lot better mix than we had in sort of the early days when you look at, or some of the dark times throughout various points in AOS when you and I were both there at the dark times at the end of 2019 early
Yeah.
2020 when it was just like you look at the top 8 and it was just like, oh, 5 Zinch lists or whatever, right? Like, okay, cool, all right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So there have been
Anyway,
worse,
yeah,
but there's still some armies that clearly need some love. But overall, I was
sure.
happy. It seemed like an incredibly fun tournament. Or as I said, I
Yeah,
heard nothing but positive feedback from everybody who attended. So if only LVO
definitely.
wasn't in Vegas, I might actually go to it sometime. But that's a real sticker for me. Stickler. Anyways, all right. I think that's all of our news. We got through it.
Yep.
All
All
right.
right.
Long news section. Let's go to
Mm-hmm.
some pick of the week. Tyler, start us off, buddy. What do
Yes,
you want to talk
sir.
about?
I've got a reasonable two. So I'm forgetting the gentleman's name. He's Warfire Minis, the guy who runs Warfire Minis. They sponsor Season of War, pretty well known. I had just come across it when I was sick, so I did get a little bit of YouTube watching in. And he has a great channel. So he has gone to a number of GTs, good players, been playing Skaven. He is really good at gaslighting, as many Skaven players are,
Sure.
including you, about the fairest army in Warhammer, right? And how it's so hard to do well with this army that has all these amazing tools like the Screaming Bells and 20 Plague Sensor Bears. And anyway, so I
I don't want to
especially
talk about the
enjoyed.
busted list. Playing a Skaven list. Yes, it became for a long time it held the title of the fairest list and fairest
Mm,
army in Warhammer, and then
yeah,
certain things conspired to make it so now it has lost that title. Like honestly, because now it's just a silly army that sits there with a bunch of bells around it, and then plague
yeah.
sensor bearers who countercharge. It has become that which I hate most of all. Like just a rote army that doesn't want to fight.
Yeah, dude, I played anyway. Yeah, I played against a Skaven list a few weeks ago. It wasn't exactly that, but it's like, oh my God, it was a really good player piling. There's like no good outs here with the setup and all the different pieces, and it was interesting to see. But yeah, anyhow, I'm half joking, but the channel is fantastic. The guy needs more subscribers. Like, I think historically there's not been enough great in-depth analysis of how to play AOS well on YouTube
Sure,
and in general.
sure.
I think we still
It's certainly
that's
not coming
been
from this show.
it's more true than not. So like if we have Onwards AOS now that's out there with a whole bunch of people that are involved, but I was so impressed by his analysis of his games, the videos that he's putting together. I think if I haven't said it yet, I believe he wanted to come open, maybe some others. Anyway, amazing channel. Really enjoying it. So
Nice.
that's the first one. And then Week and Decadent, they did the very first Warcoda 2.0 battle report. So I just wanted to shout that out. That was last week.
Very
And
nice.
there'll be more coming from different channels.
Love it. Weekend Decadence in the chat. Everybody should go check it out. Check out both those links. They are linked down below because Tyler is responsible and sent me the links in advance. So there you go. All right. So there it's down in the chat, Dougie Fresh and Kyle. But do you want to repeat both of the channels?
Yeah, Warpfire minis. So Warpfire one word minis. And then Week and Decadent.
Go. So for my pick of the week, I'm actually going to be a little selfish here.
All right.
Good buddy Rob over at the Miniatures Paintbrush. He did a battle report for Tanks for the Apocalypse for the most recent
Oh,
game that Adam and I
nice.
released. So if you want to see that you can find Tanks in our new zine Snarl, which you can find also linked down below. But you can
Mhm.
find the link to that battle report. So if you want to see how Tanks for the Apocalypse plays, it's a very fun, fast game, and that is linked down there. So you can check out Rob's channel. And if you want to see Snarl, only $8 to pick up the PDF with that, and has additions for both Reign and Hell and Space Station Zero in it. You can find that link too. So there you go, a little self-serving pick of the week
Excellent.
for me for sure. But also shouting out Rob, who is a really really great guy
Yeah.
and has a very fun channel. Okay, so let's talk about some hobby time.
Yeah.
Tyler, how goes it, man? We're into
Yeah,
2024. Here we are.
Right. I'm still working on terrain, so I'm making some progress on terrain. That's got me distracted. I think I've already told you this. I figured Paul Castro has been amazing as always, and I need to actually start painting some of the terrain that's been in my garage for too long. So I'm still working on that. I'll have photos at some point. Been getting a lot of games in with Legion of Night. Absolutely loving it. It's nice my friend actually have people complaining about my army. Like I've really missed that. The only thing people complained about last year was Sloppity. I wasn't even running the Glocken
Sure.
or spamming Plague Bearers. I was just running Sloppity, and people were complaining. But yeah,
Now give them a reason to complain. That's what I say.
exactly.
So what's your high level? What have you been running? What's the list look like? Give
So
me
it's
the quick flyover.
the Highlander theme, Legion of Night, Soul Blight, especially Legion of Night, is great for Highlander. So a lot of similarities with, I'd say, Ronia's list.
Okay.
As it turned out, I kind of ended up with a lot of the pieces that she did. So Manfred with Waste Away, Laukavai with Vile Transference, Vampire Lord on foot with Unbending Will Commensurate, Summonable count as 2 for 1 on objectives, and it's just models. It's not in Holy Within 12 for models, not even the whole unit. Amazing. So you can move around your Vampire Lord in the battlefield through the Swift Form Heroic Action that, for some reason, is every hero phase and drives everybody that I played crazy.
Sure.
Yeah, giving that 2 for 1. And then Necromancer with Blizzard, of course. So those are in the Acolytes Battalion for the extra goodies. And then 20 zombies, 10 skellies, 10 puppies, 3 Varguys, 3 bats, 20 Graveguard. I tried to avoid the 20 Graveguard, and apparently it's about impossible with the Great White Blades, because that unit just destroys the world.
Sure.
So
sure.
And Pendulum for some lovely fun with Manfred teleporting around with Pendulum and Wind of Death to try to take out little heroes. Anyway, man, it's strong. It turns out.
Very nice.
Legion of Night is very strong.
I love it.
Yeah.
For myself, my hobby time. Sadly, I didn't get to play a game this last weekend. Because I have a sort of monthly remote D&D game. So I mean, I was playing a game, just not Warhammer, sadly. But that's okay. I have finished up a couple of additional Bretonnian Knights to add to a lance. I continue to they're fun, right? It's nice. Fun. Bretonnian's just a simple, nice split color scheme is always very aesthetically appealing. It's not that they're not that complicated to do. It's a nice little fun. It's relaxing. Like legitimately painting these old knights of the realm is a very relaxing thing, because they're not the most complicated figures by far. So 2 little knights, got those guys done, and they'll join their brethren in the lance. And then also I've finally returning to work on this girl from Hardcore Miniatures. This is this 75 millimeter Plague Sister, and I've rectified a lot of my mistakes from the earlier go at her, and like I had messed something up so significantly, it caused such an amount of rework that honestly I started reworking it and then set her to the side, because it was just kind of like I couldn't build up I was like, oh, I'll work on something else, I'll work on something else, right? Like I kept not going back to it. Now though, I've almost got her. There's only one more thing I need to correct from my previous screw ups, and she's getting to a place where I'm feeling really good. So I think I'm like, finally, I think I've built back up the impetus to keep going with it. So that's exciting. And then I also finished a really big project that I still can't talk about, but everybody will see at some point in the future. So,
okay.
There you go.
How often do you mess up a model in a meaningful way?
It depends. Like decently often,
Okay. Yeah.
Like I when I say mess up, what you have to what I mean there is not like, oh, oops, I got paint somewhere I didn't mean to get it, or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Meaningful.
It's I painted it and it was compositionally incorrect. Okay, and when I couldn't figure out why. And I looked at it and I was like, I can't crack this. And so I went to a couple other people and bounced it off of them. And they were like, well, this and this and this is what you did wrong. And I was like, oh, yep. And then as soon as they said it, it was like puzzle piece snapped into place. But it required a significant amount of rework. And how often does that happen? Still pretty often. I don't know that you ever get to a place where you don't need to bounce ideas off of other people. Because it's always like, it's always just you're always going to be in a place where you doubt yourself, especially if you're not doing something that you've done 100 times before, right? If it's a brand new model. So there you go.
Right. So, and I just popped my head. Have you already done that show with Haywo and Mr. Mephisto with Meth?
We did.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was gonna keep an eye out for the YouTube video whenever that comes out.
Yeah, we did it on whatever his VOD was and it went out on Twitch. I don't think he's put it up on YouTube yet. So
Okay,
but
sweet.
yes, it was a
What were
very
you guys
fun
talking
show.
about? What was that?
Oh my god! I mean,
Oh,
everything.
all kinds of things. Okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
like it
Yeah.
was just classic. The three of us get together and just travel through
Yeah.
other
Yeah,
topics.
it's always fun, the three of you. So
Like the
that's always
primary
really
topic was meant to be getting back into AOS after a time away, but we
gotcha.
covered a lot of topics.
Yeah.
Dougie Fresh, you guys think we'll get Kislev or Cathay releases in the old world? I mean, they were talking about it a lot back at the beginning. I think they had intentions to do it, and then their
Yeah.
budget got cut heavily, and they trimmed it out. So my guess is eventually, yes, on some kind of timeline, assuming the project doesn't totally tank, which at this point it seems like it's not. It seems like it's pretty popular. So I have to imagine that eventually they already did some amount of work, so that will encourage them to dust that off. Let me just say this. As a business, if you've done previous work and you're looking for what you slot into your roadmap and you already have some amount of the project done, and so you can increase your confidence of deliverability and contain your costs, that is very attractive to upper management approving a roadmap. Okay, so, there you go. And then those Beastmen in AOS Vanguard box originate from Warhammer Fantasy Battle. They'll rank up, right? Yeah, all the Beastmen will. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. Cool. Yes, so my hobby time has been quite intense. A lot of different things going on, but it's exciting. And I think I want to start another really, really big project. I was almost this close to starting it, and then was like, I need something. I needed something lower impact, so I painted those knights. Right, I was like, this is more relaxed and fun. I needed a little sorbet before I ate another 72-ounce steak. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't just sit there and chow those down all day. All right. With that, Tyler, why don't we turn to our featured topic today, Warcoda 2.0.
We are here.
All right. Before we get into any detail on this, and I've got the battle plans and the terrain thing brought up, so we can go kind of wherever you want with this.
Yeah.
But I just want to preface it. So I'd like you to go ahead and set the stage for us. Paint a picture for us, Tyler. What is this? What the heck is this? What's going on?
What is this? Why is this? Yeah, absolutely.
What is this? Why is
Well,
this?
yeah, I mean, you nailed it, right? We talked many times. This is something I would love. We both would love, all three of us, for the studio to be doing, releasing a new set of battle plans every 6 months. Give us an annual something, right, with 12 missions, and release 6 more at the midway point for us tournament goers, us addicts. I think that's a great world to live in. We don't live there yet, so that's what led to Warcoda previously, and then once again, because we're here again. So we have so many great battle plans over the years, these 8 years, right? Some of them were a little rough. There's different opinions about reload. There's some real questionable minds out there who love Relocation Orb. But I thought, maybe we could actually make a good matched play viable Relocation Orb, and I think we did it. So
That's
we'll
a
see.
bar. We'll see. See what everybody thinks.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that at the end of the day, that's the idea behind this. Just have a way to do a refresh on some of these battle plans, keep things interesting, give something, these can work certainly for 2 days, but I think they're amazing for RTTs, right? Like last time around with Warcoda, I saw a number of events around the world that would run these at a 1-dayer. These are very much, I think, in the spirit of what certainly Tom, you and I like, which is stuff that's not too crazy, not too complicated. Like most of these have one additional element that they've introduced, right?
That's right.
Like one
That's right.
additional scoring element, and yeah. So that's kind of the why and what of it.
Now, Tyler, if our audience were interested in using Warcoda for themselves, how would they do so?
Weird, you ask. Yeah, what a question. There is a lovely website, warcoda.com.
Yes, which you can find linked below, or just type into your browser.
Yep. So yeah, the 2 files are there, and we're going to be adding battle reports as they come. We'll even add this video. Might be worth adding. And so I did want to mention, been in the community for 8 years, never asked for a dime, all the things that I've tried to get involved in. I'm very hesitant to even mention it, but I did throw in a way to tip for this.
That's right.
If any, for folks who are I thought that might be reasonable to finally have a bit of an ask. There was a huge amount of work, time, and effort that went into Warcoda 1.0 and 2.0 here. So yeah, threw that in there for folks who'd be up for throwing a few bucks for this project a
Love it.
certain way. Yeah.
Yes, go check out Warcoda. You can download the stuff if you want to for free. There's no requirement.
Yep.
It is absolutely free if you like. But if you're feeling generous for all this amazing hard work that Tyler did with 12 battle plans, the terrain maps, and everything like that, you can also, there's a little tip jar there. You can throw in a little tip, little $5 tip or whatnot. So buy Tyler a meal for doing all this hard work. The man puts in an incredible amount of effort into this, and to keep our games of AOS fresh, to give us more options to play with. I think that's one of the best deals around. Certainly you're paying a heck of a lot more for 12 battle plans and basically nothing else in a GHB, as we talked about last week. So I would call that, it's literally an order of magnitude more expensive for effectively the same thing when you get it from GW. So you can't argue with that kind of deal. Link below in the description, but as well just Warcoda, like you see on the screen over there, .com. Okay, cool. With that, Tyler, let's get into these. How do you want to do it? We're starting with a terrain map. We starting with this. How should we go about this?
Yeah, we can start with, well, actually, I guess we could save the terrain maps for the end and we can go through that quickly at the end. Yeah.
That's fine.
But I mean, just so everybody knows, yeah, we have the second PDF that puts forward a set of terrain guidelines. You can use them or not. It's building upon the work of Rob Symes, Garrett Thomas, and Jeff Eskedis with Weird Knobs. Those three guys in particular, I mean, the number of people right in the community over the last couple of years that have been involved in trying to improve terrain. As we know, there's been an issue in AOS, but wanted to shout out those three gentlemen in particular, because they've all three of them have really made a big difference in helping to improve terrain for AOS. So, and then, yeah, the terrain maps. Gareth was the first person I really saw do this. I know Rob, right? He has his own pack as well. With others that he's put together at Honest Wargamer. It's great. I love the work that Gareth has done with the generic TO pack. So try to spend a lot of time just going through different terrain map layouts, right, to get some diversity in layouts, which I think it's cool.
Very nice.
Pretty happy with that.
Waffles Enjoyer, they already revealed Dawnbringers 4 some time back. It's the one with Usharon in it. They just haven't said when it's coming out yet. So yeah. That was already revealed. We already know it. We're all just now waiting on it, because it's effectively sort of meant to be coming, I suppose, with the FEC stuff whenever we get the rest of the Flesh Eater courts. So okay, cool. Well, let's jump right in. So we got some battle plans here. We've got 12 battle plans, as you mentioned. Standard little breakdown. This is not an official Games Workshop publication. I'll tell you, it warms my icy heart that the art we chose to use here on this is a big giant Verminlord and some scale. Wonderful.
I was thinking of you, buddy.
Wonderful, Tyler.
You're welcome.
I'm truly. So that's great stuff. Then let's just get into it. So Border War, old classic here. So I basically, I think what we'll do is just kind of talk through these at a high level and what your goals were. Like, people can read what's on the screen. Definitely. So, but like, what are you setting about to do here? Take us through this.
Yeah, and just to call it out. So I think 5 of these were in the Warcoda 1.0, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll call out which ones. This was one of them. And we went through quite a bit of iteration with those at the time. Got them to, I think, a really great place. So very little has changed with those original 5. And I believe one thing we did change with Border War. So as you remember, Vince, Border War, right, is probably the OG, or certainly one of the OGs of AOS, right?
Yep.
The way that it was scored was 4 points if you take control of your opponent's objective.
Sure. 1, 2, 4.
That was that was a little too much, and it felt in the playtesting, the feedback that we were getting, so we just modified that to 3 points.
Gotcha.
Just to keep things a little tighter. But otherwise, I mean, it's Border War. So score 1 if you control the objective, starts the game on the border of your territory. 2 if you control the objective that starts the game wholly outside of either player's territory. Had the any language, right? So you're not able to double up on that.
Correct.
So again, so you don't have the score run away. And then 3 points if you control your opponents. And then battle tactic, grand strat. So one of the most straightforward missions that you can imagine. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's classic.
Yep, very straightforward, but a good solid design. Like some things are just classic. A good suit, it hasn't changed much in 70 years, but as a good suit still looks great. Dougie Fresh says, does this still use the current GHB rules like primals? It's agnostic to the battle pack, so it doesn't matter. You can use these with any battle pack. Yes, you certainly could use the current battle pack, which includes that stuff, but you don't have to. You could use just the basic one. You could throw battle tactics completely out the window, let's say, if you wanted to do that. Totally. All that would be possible. Okay.
Yeah, works great with the current GHB. Like, no issues.
Yep.
That's what we use for all the playtesting. So yeah.
Sure. Yep. All right. Number 2, forcing the hand. Okay. So we've got another nice callback here. But with some slightly different things going on. So take us through this one.
Yeah. Did you play this one in Warcoda 1.0?
I did. I did very much.
Did you like it?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this one, plays really well. So the vital ground, after armies have been set up before determining as the first turn of the first battle round, each player must pick one of their own objectives to be their vital ground for the duration of the game, starting with the attacker. So that was one of the things that we changed over time, right? Because we initially made it to where you could, the original GHB forcing the hand, right? You were able to change that as, each battle round.
Which was the mistake. That was the bad part of the design.
Yeah. This has felt so much more interesting in playtesting and dynamism of the game, because it opens up different strategies, right? Different approaches to deployment. Whenever, I want to pick this point and need to hold on to it potentially, or maybe not. But yeah, it makes it, I think, a lot more dynamic. Otherwise, scoring is all the same: hold 1, hold 2, hold more, but then score 1 victory point if you control your opponent's vital ground, battle tactic, grand strategy. So as I said, man, that's going to be a running theme with basically all of these, right? Usually 1 point or so.
Sure. Keeping the scoring tight. Yeah. Tom M had said, does Warcoda have any multiplayer doubles, triumph, and treachery type scenarios? And obviously, the answer there's no. These are 12 more just like traditional one-on-one tournament style or event style battle plans. But I do think that there's a world, Tyler, where I eventually beat you up and convince you to write some fun multiplayer ones as well, because you really inspired me. I was complaining about the lack of these battle plans. You did such a great job with these. We might have to partner up at some point in time over the course this year and put that together. No reason we couldn't have that. So there you go.
You were giving me a hard time at the start of the show. I think you're right. Yeah, if they don't do a sufficient job with 4th edition, we should do it.
Absolutely. All right. Very good. Anything else we want to talk about this one? I mean, yes, you got the 1 victory point for the opponent's vital ground, so you got that extra incentive that can really put you ahead. I like this one because I do like the L-shaped deployment. I think this is a very simple deployment scheme. And your classic Tetris piece nonsense here.
Right.
But I like the setup. I like when you've got that sort of extra step out there on the side of where you want to get nice and close to the enemy. It creates some interesting setup decisions, I think, with the shape.
Yeah, forcing the hand, the GHB that it came out in, for my money, was the best battle plan of that GHB, whichever GHB that was when it came out originally.
Yeah, I couldn't say.
Certainly top 2. It was just amazing, the games that it could create. The board, one of my biases, is games, maps that incentivize you to play across a lot of the board. I mean, I think you want to have not necessarily 5 missions at a GT that are all just that. It's good to have a mixture. But yeah, that's certainly one of my own biases with this stuff.
Agreed. And yes, Kyle, it's 2017. All right. Let's keep going. Game of Heroes. We got the box setup. Yeah. Truly my favorite setup. I love the box setup.
Why don't you talk about this one? Because I remember you were, again, this was a lot of the ones from the 1st edition Warcoda are here at the top here. So this was our 3rd one. I remember you saying you like this one. You want to say
I do. I really did. I did and do. Is the answer. Yes. I mean, like original Warcoda, to be clear, basically once you released it, I printed out all the pages and it was more or less the only battle plans we used. I'm going to be completely honest. Like we would just play through them kind of over the weeks, just kind of cycling through. So I like Game of Heroes a lot. First of all, it uses the setup I really like, which is the double box deployment zone and then the box objectives all overlaid on top of that. This is one of my favorite deployment maps of all time. I feel like this creates some of the most interesting scenarios in games, as meaning like how the pieces actually play out. And it's really interesting because you're not equidistant from both of your objectives, even though because it's not a square, you're like 11 inches away from one and 15 inches away from another, which is a meaningful difference, it turns out, depending on what you're playing. And so the way this works is the objective that starts in your opponent's territory counts as 2 objectives when you score victory points, which is a thing that I'm shocked they haven't played with more in the hold 1, hold 2, hold more. Because, what that means is that depending on the board setup, you could, by just holding that one, you're getting score 1, score 2, right? And at the same time, it also really flips the game and encourages forward movement into their territory. And so you get this nice counterplay of oftentimes what'll end up happening with this one is people will rotate like a clock.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You'll get this situation going on, but you can also expect that and move on. So this one has the standard score 1, hold 2, hold more, or 1, 2, 3 points. But then it also has the score 1 victory point if you have a friendly leader from your starting army with a wounds characteristic of 9 or less within 3 inches. Inches of any objective you control, excluding the objective that starts in your territory. So if you can get your little boys out there onto that. Yet again, it can oftentimes matter a lot, your 2 objectives, because again, one of those objectives, the way that they are and the way they are from the edge and coming on from edges and what people are covering can often matter. This is one of those things that often mattered for me, playing Skaven on this, because it was making sure that I could pop out of my gnaw hole and then be within threat range of holding that thing and getting a hero near it, that kind of stuff. So,
that's cool.
So yeah. And then, that's basically the scoring. Again, it's simple, but I think that the elegance is in the design of the basic battle plan itself. That is to say, a well-designed battle plan doesn't need to be much more than good setup combined with good objective placement, and then encouraging you to do interesting things during the game. If you can nail all 3 of those, you're going to have a good game. Yeah. Because it's going to encourage people to move, to break up castles, to react to each other, and so on, especially when you're incentivized in some way to go push into your opponent's territory or spread out, as you are in both cases with this one. So, yeah, that's why I really like Game of Heroes. I just think it seems so simple, but it's really, really dynamic in how it plays. So,
one thing that there's a wrinkle with this one nowadays, which is the new Lookout Sir rule, right?
Sure.
So whenever, Warcoda came out 1.0, we didn't have that, where you're not able to target outside of 12 with shooting. So that is, we did play test it. It can change things a little bit, but I still think it's a viable, notable mission. But yeah, just to call that out.
You know what I'm really glad about, Tyler? I'm really glad that they didn't create a game where there's just tons of incidental mortal wounds that rain all over the place in clouds. So, because, it feels like it'd really be a problem if that existed. So, yeah, no, that's fine. By the way, if you haven't hit like yet, or subscribed or done all those fun things, hit those buttons. Click things that make dings. It'll make you at least some percentage points cooler. And that's hit like if you like cool battle plans. Yeah. Would you like you mentioned that, Lookout Sir? This just came to my head.
Yeah.
Complete aside. In the old world FAQ, one of the questions they answered was the way cannons work in the game is you pick up a spot on the ground and then you're rolling artillery dice and the cannon's going to hit somewhere and then bounce and then it hits everything in between. And characters aren't targetable in that game if they're near units of sufficient size of the same type as them as well. So same sort of rule, right? So if you got a character standing near a bunch of people that basically look just like them. So if you got Beastman on foot next to a bunch of Beastmen or something like that, right? You can't target that hero out. You can't shoot him, right?
Gotcha.
And so, but the trick with a cannonball is that you're not targeting a unit, you're just picking a point on the ground. So people were like, well, can I just pick a point on the ground in front of that hero and then just plow the cannonball over top? I'm like, oops, incidentally smashed right through him with a cannonball, right? And the answer they actually gave was, no, you just can't pick that point in the ground. He just won't, it'll just not target him. Because he can just be sort of Lord of the Rings it, right? When that dude's just hops to the side where that rock comes down and crushes it. Yeah, so that's kind of a cool answer. So glad to see that, yes. No sniper, no sniping. Okay.
Very nice.
Rising Power. Take us through this one.
Do you remember where this one was from?
I don't remember where this one's from. I mean, the name is familiar, but I don't remember
Yeah.
where it's from.
This was the third edition core book, man. This was
Wow.
the very, I thought, very playable, yeah, match play playable, tournament playable mission that almost
That's
never got
right. That's
ran.
right. Yes. Yes, it was. I really liked this one.
Yeah.
Yes. This is the first battle plan I ever played in AOS 3.0. Yes.
Oh,
This one.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the way they had it, I mean, again, this is another example of with some of these, I just thought it'd be cool to bring back some with some tweaks that didn't get enough play. So
Right.
there's at least one other one that I'm thinking of in that regard. The way that was originally is you, at the start of each battle round, I can't remember when, like before or after priority, whatever, you would roll a dice, D3, and then so 1 to 2, the left, 3 to 4 middle, etc. And that would be the objective that counts as 2, right? For purposes
Yep.
you just as you just said. So they had this right out of the gate, that little tech counting as 2 for purposes of scoring objectives. I just simply made it to where it's the player going second will dictate which one, right, counts as 2, which in playtesting worked incredibly well. Simple, seemed pretty elegant, and I played this one last week. This is another one where you can play a lot of the board. This has now. I think I also changed the map on this one to match. I actually can't remember the name of the mission. Do you remember the mission where it was like a couple of GHBs ago? You could score up to 7 points in round one, and there was
Oh
like this
yeah, yeah, yeah.
strong. It had this exact layout, right? You could deploy 11 inches away from the
Yep.
enemy.
Yep.
Yeah. So really strong incentive to go first. You could get a lot of benefit on the other side. So like it had this interesting yin yang where like okay, but you could do battle reg, so you're going to get to go first if you want, but your opponent is going to know where all your crap is, and then
Right, right.
they
Yeah.
can counter deploy that, right? So I really like that. And so yeah, introduce that map here. I think it works really well with these 5 objectives. Again, you're playing a lot of the board.
No, I love
You
this setup. I like the again this I like the long thin L. Now,
yeah.
especially with this objective setup. So let me explain
Mm,
why I like this so much. The objective that's in your territory is way over on this side of the map. Let's just call it the left side as we're looking at it, right?
yeah.
Okay. Like I
Yeah.
understand that's arbitrary, but we're just going to say here on the left side.
Mm,
Meanwhile, the other objective that's touching your territory is and where you have this like forward push where you can be out there is way over here on the right side, right? So
right.
like they're sort of like where it could be very near where they want to push. Like you want to push here because you can go grab objective 1 if you're the
Mm,
defender here, whereas attacker wants to push to get objective 3. And so like deployment actually can really become very split,
yeah.
right? In this weird way with this thing. I think I love this mission because I think this mission does very much subtly disincentivize bat reg, like one
That
drops,
rich.
because the way
Yeah.
you have to just like, okay, I'm bat reg and I go first and I have to drop my whole army, and you're really making a commitment that your
Mm,
opponent can then in a battle plan like this respond to in a
right.
pretty strong way.
Yeah.
And that's going to lead to like a lot of potential play. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that by going second, they're probably gonna, if they bat reg, they probably make themselves go second and choose the objective. But you're gonna
Sure.
know that, and like from the moment they set up, you know what they're choosing, right?
Right.
Like you, there's no actual choice to them. They've set up, they're gonna choose a particular objective to be worth 2, and like you can respond to that accordingly, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I played against Bastion, a Stormcast list, and he was interesting with this mission, with the ability of Bastion to redeploy D3 units.
Yep.
So
Oh
that was
yeah.
cool to see.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. And again, very straightforward scoring, hold one, hold two, hold more. But yeah, the shifting priority counts as
2
two
objectives.
objectives when scoring different
Again,
points. Yeah.
like I wish they would play with simple levers like that more. I think things like that are really clever, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't always have to be points. Sometimes it could just be count as 2 objectives or something like
Mm,
that, right? Um, I think they could play with like a, like where on like the heroes one we just talked about with the side to side.
hmm
I think there would be ways where you could play with it, like if you hold your opponent's one and something, that counts as
mm.
holding more that round.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
as long as you put an extra condition on it, like they have to, if you hold it with at least this or with a battle line unit or something like that, right? So you make it so you have to shove your
Right.
battle line, get your battle line deep into their territory.
Mm.
Then it counts as holding this objective counts as holding more, right, or
Mm.
something like that. Like I
That's
think
cool.
there's space
Yeah.
they haven't played with there yet that I think could be
Right.
explored. It's amazing to me we've done battle plans this many times and
I've-
like just haven't really even checked on the fundamentals. Right,
Yeah.
we keep
100.
doing wacky stuff that's too complicated. It's an ice tower and it explodes and ice spiders come out and then everybody has to do a jig. But if you have 3 units, then it's a
Sure.
D6 damage. But if you have 2 units, it's only a D3. It's like, what is happening here?
Right.
Why is any of this?
You randomly made me think of the season of war. I got to get my bingo card checkbox, or filled in. So latest was Ridge and Jordan playing a matchup for LVO prep, and Ridge pointed out in that game, I'd never realized this with Fountains of Frost. The objective can explode when you have three or more contesting.
Yep.
You just, if let's say you have 10 direwolves that are spread out, you just have, okay, they're on two objectives, but you just have the unit of direwolves count toward the other objective. So they're
Right.
not counting toward control. So
Correct.
you could actually have like 5 units that are on that objective, but only two are counted as contesting. It's
Correct.
like,
Yeah,
oh
you just
wow, I
have them
never
contest the other one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the other one.
I think we
Yeah.
mentioned that on the original show, but maybe
Oh,
it
okay.
might have.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like yeah, I mean it's yeah, it's that thing is wackadoo. Really, like legitimate. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine and fun thing, but boy, is it like we didn't need all that. That's
Right.
what.
But yeah, part of one of the points of philosophy with this project was to take a conservative approach, right? Like
Sure.
I thought about, well, okay, I could explore more design space as an individual that they haven't explored yet, but that is getting outside of the parameters of why this project was created, right? The intent of this project is to try to generally mimic some of the basic kind of fundamental principles of, I
Right.
think, the best of GHB design, GHB battle plan design, right? At least as an aspiration. So I didn't want to, yeah, introduce too many things that are outside of the norms of what
No,
people
we'll leave
expect.
that for the one that you and I do together. That's where we'll
Yes,
get wild. That's where we'll get
absolutely.
wacky. That's where we
Yeah.
push the envelope, Tyler. Absolutely.
All right,
Okay.
I'm on board.
Cool. Let's go. Next up, Battle Plan 5, Thirst for Blood.
Yeah.
Okay. Take us through this one.
Do you know what this one is based? I'm doing what you do to me. Do you know what this is? Do you know that? Does it ring a bell what this was based upon? You might get it from the.
Yes, I do remember this one. The three.
It was the, well, I'll just give it away. So I know
Yeah.
we got quite a few more. First Blood.
There
So
you
it's
go.
not very
Yes,
far to
that's
go
right.
from
That's right.
First Blood to Thirst for Blood.
Nice. Good.
Yeah.
Good rhyming. Good rhyming. Well done.
Right. Yeah, man. This was our quintessential like game one mission for the
Sure.
original 3.0 GHB.
Mm-hmm.
First Blood. Awesome map. You play across a lot of the board. Really interesting mission. So Thirst for Blood, the element that's been introduced here is getting some kill points going on.
Getting some kill
In
points, baby.
AOS.
This is the most exciting thing I saw when I read this one. Yes.
Yeah.
Like look, I was a big proponent in the early days of like moving away from just being all about kill. Like I liked adding objectives and stuff like that. I think we may have turned a bit from the face of our fathers. Okay, I think we may have forgotten the face of our fathers a little bit. Like who got together to kill each other, not to like run around and do a handstand and then also make sure you only stand on this point when you're doing a handstand. Like I think
Yeah.
we've fallen from grace, okay?
Yeah.
And playing some of the old world, as I said to you before the show started, has really clarified in my mind how much I like, kill points as a factor, as a thing,
Yeah.
as an option in some battle plans to add to scoring. I do not think it's how the game should be run. Like I like the objectives and I like the way that AOS works in that regard, right? And that obviously killing your enemy is a way to get at the objectives, so it becomes sort of a thing. But I also like it when some missions have some kill point incentives. I literally talked about this last week about like I would love it if
Oh, cool.
a third of our battle plans or something like that, or a quarter of our battle plans. It could be a couple. You know what I mean? Like in the pack of 12, you got 2 or 3, and I'd be great. I'd be set.
Right.
Had some kind of kill point incentives of different kinds in them. They don't all need to be the same thing. One could be just like you've got it here where it's like killing more enemy units. Could be killing a hero in the round. Like no matter how many,
Right.
it's just if you killed a hero during this battle round or during
Yeah.
this turn, right? Something like that. That kind of stuff. I'd love to see it be there, just so there's still some incentive to actually get out there and go fight your enemy, and not just sit there with like 3 bells and wait
Totally.
and then countercharge every so often.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like an ancillary kill point thing. So yeah, that excited me the most. I also like this setup. I like the tiny corner deployment zone by knocking the chunk out of the box. Like I'm a fan of this to this is what it comes down to,
Right.
and so this you're really far apart is what it comes down is what it actually feels like.
Yeah.
I also like any battle plan where I don't have to get out the measuring sticks to set like in the middle and start doing trigonometry to figure out where I'm not allowed
This is
to
ringing
deploy.
bells. I feel like I've heard this a few times over the years. Okay. Yeah.
I will make the exception only for the box to box, since it's just like one 9-inch stick that I can put from the center one and just go like this. Right? That's my exception. I'll settle for it. But yeah, this is great. Good stuff. Standard hold 1, hold 2, hold more, and then a sort of ancillary kill point thing of try to kill more units than they kill of you. So it's great.
Yeah, I really love the nuance of that. If more enemy units than friendly units were destroyed, right? It's not a couple of variables there that you're having to account for in your execution of that. So yeah, that's been kind of a nice little subtle thing that made it a little bit more interesting in terms of killing. So
Absolutely. And like what Weird Knob said, make the game more than stand on circles makes so much sense. And like, yes, I mean, you want to like balance giants. This was the question we had over and over again and over and over again, right? It kept coming up. How do we balance the Sons of Bahamut? How do we do it? How could we possibly do it? Putting in kill points or like contingenting some amount of points onto kill points would balance Sons of Bahamut out really fast, right? Like I'm not saying right now they're a terror in the space. I mean, they haven't largely gotten to play in any seasons for a long time. Like they're okay. They always show up and go at least like basically 3-2 by default or 2-3 by default, just because they can just sort of stand around and win. But they don't kill anything, so that kind of stuff can help to balance armies that are just really good at standing.
boy, they really don't seem to kill anything. Oh my god!
no,
And it seems like it's getting worse each time I play them. Like it's been so sad the last 3 times I played. It's like the Gatebreakers, they're just doing nothing.
I explained this to people when the new book came out, that I was like, I'm happy because they made the damage number higher, but they also then commensurately reduced the attack, so everything is more swingy. And what ends up happening is your giants just don't do much. They just don't. They will very frequently fail to kill like a unit of 10 chaff.
Right. It's so weird. Yeah.
Like this is 10 skinks. Your massive 500 point effectively Mega Gargant attacks. He kills 6 skinks. It's like, all right, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So while we're on this, we didn't actually finish the conversation, or at least get a little further in the conversation. Is there a way you could quickly tell me, with the old world, since I haven't watched the show yet, and I don't know anything about the old world rules and so on, or hardly anything. So you mentioned it has kill points as one of the fundamental elements, right? As I'm gathering. Is that it? Is there like different variations on the theme of kill points, or is it like how
it's
we
variations on kill points. So there's like you get the points for killing the unit. If you lift a unit, you get the points of that unit. How much were they worth? That's what you get. Okay. But then you get extra points for things like banners and other stuff like that. So certain things in the game will be worth extra bonus points if you manage to pick them up. So even if you lost more, if you killed the right things, you could come out ahead, is what it comes down to. So it's kind of all variations on that thing. Their battle plans that are in there are much more like variations on deployment and interactivity than they are variants on scoring. Although there is some interesting things that vary battle plan to battle plan that I do enjoy. Like they change up the rules for who goes first in some of the battle plans, for how you determine who goes first. So that's kind of interesting. That's a battle plan dependent thing. So yeah.
What's the standard way that you're choosing who goes first?
Alternating deployment. If there are minor differences we don't need to worry about the nuance here, but alternating deployment, and then whoever finishes first, you roll off, but then whoever finishes first, so whoever's lower drops, gets +1 to the roll.
Okay. Interesting.
So, now, but like I said, there are things that will vary that within the individual battle plans.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Which is cool.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right. And like that's again. Classic. There's so much of the text. You worked through these and wrote these, right? Yeah. And there's so much of this text that ends up becoming rote and repeated that we never vary, that we could.
Sure.
Right. Like, we could vary something about attacker and defender. We could vary, right, something about deployment. We could vary something about game length. We could vary something about minor and major victory stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't have to necessarily be like right now. All of these are structured, and it's no offense. Like, you're being in line with how these things work now. But like, the player with the most victory points scores a major victory. Okay, but like that's not how it'd have to work. It could be like the player with the most victory points scores a minor victory unless they scored 5 or more victory points more than their opponent or something like that, right? I'm phrasing that poorly, but you get what I'm saying, right? So like, you have to score 23 to 18, otherwise it's a minor victory or something like that. Like, we could play more with that space, and that would also add to the ability. Like, one of the things TOs are always complaining about is separation in tournaments.
Sure.
Yeah, like being able to actually effectively separate. And part of the problem is because everybody just claims major victories every round, because it's basically just major victory, draw, loss. If you had more minor victories injected in some way, where because you delta the scoring more or open up the ways for those to happen, you would create more deviation in the scores. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a lot of things you could vary that we've just never. We vary this paragraph. Right, and then that's it. And again, that's not in any way a judgment of this. I think you did great work here, and you focused most of your time on thinking deeply about things like the deployment zones, the objectives, and stuff like that, which is the critical thing to cover. My point is they could do more. So, but I love this one. I like this one.
And again, the conserve, like, that's outside the scope of the
Absolutely.
the mission here. So yeah,
Guiding principles are very important, and you're sticking to yours. Yes.
This has turned into the tangent battle plan. 2 last ones. It popped in my head. I have to shout out Jeff with Weird Knobs. I've already mentioned him, but dude, Jeff did the design work on this document. Right?
Oh, nice.
He did the AOS reference sheet. He's done all kinds of amazing design work in the community for a number of years now. The man is amazing. He came out with his friend to Vault Wars. We got dinner together with a big group. Anyway, I could go on about Jeff forever, but thank you, Jeff, for the incredible work on this document. Just
this man's an InDesign master or whatever he's using. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, whatever layout software you're using, Jeff, you're great at it. Looks great.
Yeah. Last tangent. If there were one mission in this entire set, dude, that I would love to actually see get played at some GTs before the edition, it's this one, Thirst for Blood. Because as you said, just give us a kill point mission at a GT.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. All right.
Agreed. Okie dokie. Artichokey. Here we go. Won't back down. The Tom Petty one. I remember this one well because that's many times did I joke when this name was sort of in a rotation of the Tom Petty battle plan. All right. Other than being the classic deployment that I hate, which is lengthwise deployment.
Sure.
Tell us about this and why we've got what's going on here.
So this was another one, right, that almost never saw play at GTs. I played this a number of times. There was a big reason why this never saw play, and that was because the rally points, or whatever it was called, I don't know if I changed the name of rally points, was on a 4-up. You could basically rally anything in the game on a 4-up. So there were some times, right, I would hear about a game between two really skilled players that got skewed because one player rolled a number of 4-ups on a unit that they shouldn't be able to rally them. That sort of thing would happen. Like, not happening all the time, but it created the potential for that level of skew that you don't want. So I just simply toned down the rally points because personally I love this mission, this layout. Yeah, it is one of those, right, that it's the non-standard deployment, the long ways. So if you have a tournament that can't account for that, then that's fine. There's not that many of them in here that have that. This and I think the next one are the only 2. But yeah, dude, this is an amazing mission in terms of actually if you can play it. So we just toned down the rally points. I think it made it to where basically you get to do a rally for free.
Right. Which is a very different deployment or very different rule than rallying on a 4-up. Like, being able to issue an additional rally, but it's still in 6s is good. Now, the problem is there's still plenty of armies that brought they're like, no, it's cool. I don't need the 4-up.
True, right,
I brought my own.
Right.
All right. Yeah. So that's a challenge. But that being said, I'll be honest, this is not my favorite one in the pack, okay? But that is because I have an undying hatred of rally as a rule and a concept. Put it in the bin. It should be gone forever. But I think this kind of concept and how you executed on it, where if you're in 6 inches of the objective, then you can issue this command
Right.
at a reduced cost, basically, without the command point being spent, is
Yeah.
a great idea for something, for how something could work. Imagine you're within 6 inches of objective. You get to roll the redeploy dice twice whenever you issue redeploy and take the
Totally.
higher result. Okay,
Yep. Yeah.
or like the objective, the way the battle plan's framed, the objectives make you like bloodthirsty, so you can
Mm.
issue the all out attack, only attack command a second time during the combat phase without a command point being spent, and even if you've already issued that order or something, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you could see stuff like that being in there and being a cool way to just like minorly tweak on the base rules, but being
Yeah.
really, really fun, right? It's just, I think you're just dealing with a toxic asset here, is what's
Sure.
going on when we're dealing with Rally. So
I love that. Yeah, no, I was thinking about that as well, and kind of writing this. I love that idea. I think
yeah,
that would be really interesting. And yeah, this one to me, like, I think this is the first one that really stands out to me as open to some critique. Like, probably I could have done something more interesting with the rally points there. Again, trying to not move too far away from what the studio did, right? And but just make this one more playable, more interesting. Because yeah, I just don't think enough people played this one.
right.
It's really cool.
Yep.
So yeah, that's that one.
Very nice. All right, let's get into table 2.
Yeah.
Battle for the Pass. Yet again, lengthwise, but I mean, come on now. Is there, by the way, I don't have the book here. It's upstairs because I was sitting down in my chair upstairs with my wife while we were hanging out and I was reading some of the old world books. But one of these exists. Battle for the Pass exists, and it's
Oh,
a
sweet.
battle plan in the old world too. Because this thing, I mean, this thing has a pedigree, Tyler. The name of this battle plan goes back to, I mean, from the time we first decided that scenarios should be a thing.
Right, right. Yeah,
Okay.
I was thinking I couldn't remember which edition introduced like legitimate scenarios in the Warhammer Fantasy Battle book. But anyway, yeah, I do remember this was one of the early ones. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah, this is the flip side of the same coin, right? This is the pair with Border War. They both function the same thing for the reasons that we scaled back the 4 points to 3 points. With Border War, we did it here as well. Uh, just an awesome mission.
Yep.
So yeah, each table has one lengthways, man. So I thought we could do one per table. We can get away with that.
All
Uh,
along.
Fair enough. So not a lot to say about this one. Yeah, people have played it a lot over the years. It was early. I think it was 2017 it came out, and yeah. But it was one of the original Warcoda 1.0s. So
Absolutely.
there you go.
Fluctuations of power. Again, we got a nice big horizontal deployment zone here, standard 9 inches away, but a big old territory, which is really relevant now with some of the units because there's a lot more units in the game now that care about your territory. So having a good mix in the pack where your territory is not just the 11-inch line actually matters a lot. Like take Sinestra, for example. We just talked about her at the beginning of the show. When
Oh
she's
yeah.
got to march to here as opposed to here to turn
Right.
on her additional ability, that's a big difference in what she
Yeah.
can do during the game, right? I also, as you know, you and I mean, you talked about this a little bit. I want to do just hammer on it. Like, I think it's really important that there's always a couple 6 objective battle plans in the mix,
Right.
because like it matters a lot. You like, it's good to have a couple 3s. It's good to have a couple 6s. It very much, like, certain armies will perform materially differently on battle
Mm-hmm.
plans that have more or less objectives, just by the presence of those things, the sheer
Yeah.
number. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, we've talked a lot about that over the years. How I just tend to think, at least on average, the game becomes more compelling, intriguing, dynamic, interesting, more variety. Yeah, when you have 5, 6 objectives.
Agreed.
When you have to cover more of the board space. Yeah. So anyway, uh, do you know where to continue asking you questions? Do you know where this one is from?
Fluctuations of power. Well, first of all, I agree with Cygnus Maximus, who says definitely a better name than Rolling Brownout. I think that's pretty great. Um, yeah, I know what this is from. I can't think of it. Yes, I remember.
This
What
this
is it?
was a recent White Dwarf,
Okay.
actually. Yeah, this so they have been introducing battle plans in White Dwarfs periodically for 40K, etc. And this one came, I don't know how many months ago it's been, but it really stood out to me. It had some issues with it. It was incomplete, but we played it a number of times, and it's solid. It's really interesting. So added some narrative to it, fixed the things that I thought needed to get fixed, and here you go. We've got a competitively ready to go battle plan. So, two factions have unwittingly converged at a realm's edge, seeking to extract realm stone deposits of extraordinary elemental power. They must first survive this battle and the oscillations of raw magic. Okay, so we've got empower and depower. This is probably the most text for, one of these little descriptors.
Sure, sure.
Hopefully we can follow this. At the start of each battle round, after priority has been determined, the player taking the second turn in that battle round must pick one objective on the battlefield to be empowered. At the end of that battle round, that empowered objective becomes depowered and cannot be controlled by either player in the next battle round. An objective cannot be picked to be empowered more than once during the battle.
Yeah, this is a variation on. This was in where did we have this same concept? This is in 3.0, right? Wasn't it in the first GHB we had this concept where you burn through all the objectives, turning them on to this state, and then they'd go into the off state? Not like off, you can't claim them or they're not worth anything.
I'm trying to remember. We have a mission that's coming up, which I got to mention Scorched Earth, but that's probably not what you're thinking of.
No, it's not. But that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I know, but at any rate, okay, got it. So you turn one on, it becomes empowered, right?
Yep.
And then at the end of that round, it's going to depower, and in that next round where it's depowered, no one can claim it. And then it flips back over, and effectively it can be claimed again, but it can't ever be empowered again. So they go. So the thing will be like, there is some amount of time, and then empowered, depowered, normal.
Right.
That's the flux. Okay. Very good.
Yeah, and that I found that cannot be when an empowered objective becomes depowered and cannot be controlled by either player in the next battle round, right? That creates some interesting dynamism.
Oh, sure.
And how that plays out, and in the tactical thinking that you're doing, your approach to the mission, what objectives you are empowering, so that it cannot be empowered again in the battle, right? You might be picking your opponent's objectives and giving them an extra point early, so that
to get them to move.
To get them,
so
exactly.
So during a critical turn, their objectives, especially if I think I'm going to be able to take your rightmost objective away from you, right? And so I'll get hold 1, hold 2, hold more, okay? Yeah. And I'm going to hit your objective, so I'll give you a bonus point to keep us even, but then next round, you're screwed, right? Like, you're in deep trouble. So, yeah, absolutely. There's absolutely counterplay there. And that's just really fascinating, where suddenly you could put them in a position where they're left with like one objective, right? All of a sudden, that they can actually claim during that round. So standard hold 1, hold 2, hold more, and then the extra victory point for the empowered objective. Yep.
Yeah. So like I said, it was a solid mission. It just needed to get a few of the kinks worked out, and
nice.
and what they laid out there. So that's that.
Very nice. Pat Noon said this was issue 492. So very nice.
492. Okay, sweet.
All right, focal points. Now here's a name I have not heard in a long time.
Right.
Okay.
Why don't you talk about this one? Why don't you take this one?
I mean, focal points is always a classic scenario. I love this one. Again, so we've got the setup that I've talked about liking earlier. Effectively, we've got the two Tetris pieces kind of squaring off against each other. I like this sort of a setup. We have the variation on the 4 objectives in the box, which is instead of on the corners, they're in the cross formation. Again, still good with it. I like all of that, and what that's kind of doing with the game state. So you have objectives 1 and 3, and 2 and 4, and you'll notice they're I don't know, whatever. You get what I'm saying. You get it. They're in that evens and odds formation for a reason. That reason being the way the victory points work is you have score 1 if you hold 1, score 1 if you hold 2, 1 if you hold more, so standard hold 1, hold 2, hold more. However, if you hold or then you get an extra point. So it's encouraging you to need to spread, right? And
Yep.
again, one of those is touching your zone, one of those is very much not, right?
Right.
And so you have to make that, like, the easy, again, this is one of those that will, especially because of the way the deployment's working, it will tend to want to rotate, but rotate doesn't buy you anything, right? Like holding 2 and 3 is nothing extra. So you've got to be able to, like, potentially rotate, but still hold, then, like, move on to 2 and 4 or whatever, something to that nature.
Mm-hmm. And you're not allowed to double up. That was, if you may remember, that's one of the things that came out of the playtesting, right? Is if you control all the objectives, you're not getting 2 points for doing that. You're still just getting 1 extra point to try to keep the score a little tight. I mean, I think there's a coherent perspective that would push against that, but that's where we ended up.
Which is like, if you're holding all 4 objectives, you've already won the game anyway.
You probably you won the game anyway. Exactly. Yeah.
Like, what has happened to the enemy that you've been allowed to gain all 4 objectives? Like, did they just stop playing? Are they dead? Did they go get a sandwich? Like, what occurred?
Yeah, right? Totally. Yeah.
But, like, it's fine. In the end, it's good, because that allows for is it also doesn't encourage this sort of weird suicidal play, which could happen on the flip side, right? Which is people are trying to stretch out to, like, just get all that. No, you can get 1. So it's fine.
Right. One little debate I was thinking about maybe removing that extra box man that we did have in Warcoda 1.0, which we maintained here. The extra box, kind of that southwest red, northeast blue, right?
Yep.
I mean, the game certainly isn't slower now in 2024 than 2021. Maybe it's faster, but it's certainly not slower, right, with mobility and everything. So I was thinking, because that was part of the original thought, was to have that extra
shrink
box.
it down to the 3-box corner deployment, basically.
Yeah. So I think you could do that. It would probably still work quite well. Again, with the speed, the teleporting, ambushing, everything that's going on in the game. But yeah.
I think if you killed those boxes, you'd reduce the clockwork spin.
That was one of the concerns. Yeah.
Because because it's extending, it's almost like it's almost like directing your army of, like, this is how you're going to move, so you have to kind of fight against that to some degree.
Yeah, as you're saying, I think the deployment is more intriguing with the 4 boxes rather than the 3, and the value of higher drop generally becomes higher.
Absolutely, you have more space to respond. Yes, agreed. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah.
Light and shadow. Oh boy, everybody. There's been some people who were with us at the beginning when we started reviewing this, Tyler. I watched the viewer count, and those people dropped. They left. They couldn't hang out. And folks, for those of you who are still watching and stayed, tuck in. This is you have made the right choice. Get ready, everybody. Here we go. All right, so hit like for relocation orb that maybe even Tom would like. All right, go for this. Here we are.
All right, let's both do this. So I'll start us out with let's do the description. I'm very proud of the description. So we are set in the Hidden Gloaming. 2 great powers are trapped within the Hidden Gloaming, the subrealm at the edge of Hish and Olgu, where light and shadow meet. Twin orbs of profound etheric energy surge around you. Your force must siphon their power for use in a last-ditch arcane ritual, your only hope between salvation and annihilation.
Very nice.
Okay, so this is our relocation. This is our attempt to fix relocation orb.
Yep.
So
Tom right now, his ears are burning. He's sweating. He doesn't know why. He can't figure it out. Yeah.
I got to do a shout out to Bryce, my friend Bryce, who started us off with this. And so, he did the first crack at this. You want to take relocating the orbs?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I mean, everybody can see it from the map. But to explain what's happening here, right? We're starting off with 2 objectives that are like this. Like if my screen is the table, you have your light orb and your dark orb, effectively, right? And so 1-1. Okay, cool.
Right.
So at the start of the second battle round, and then each successive battle round after that, 2, 3, 4, 5. Before determining who will take the first turn, each objective is moved to the new location. They can't be moved in any other way, and control of an objective is lost when the objective relocates. Okay? Really, really, really important detail there. Super duper duper important. So what's going to happen is they're going to start here, and then they're going to go bop, 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 bop.
Yep.
Right, or whatever. I think I went too many, but you get it. They're gonna switch places by the time the game's done. Yeah.
Yep.
I might have done too many bops, but that was you get the concept.
Yep.
Okay. And then siphoning the orbs. When determining control of an objective, if you have any friendly wizard, wizard, within 3 inches of that objective, 3 inches, or any friendly hero with an artifact of power within 3 inches of that objective, you can select one of them and count them as 10 models for the purposes of contesting that objective. So, because they, can siphon the orb. And then other than that, this is hold 1, hold 2, and difficultly hold more.
Hold more, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So that could be quite a nice swing if you get the hold more, because
Yes.
that means you've gotten hold 2.
That's right. Yeah. I should have started the difficulty at hold 2, which is like,
Right.
in a 2 objective match, it's like hold 1, got it, understood, hold 2. Oh boy. Yeah, because suddenly you basically you can only get the hold 1 or hold more, right? Like you will automatically trip your way into that.
Yeah.
Yes, bop it, slap it, something, ring it, twist it. I don't know, whatever all the different things where you could do with that game. Who didn't love bop it? So yeah, this is. I have to say, this is fun. It's certainly. I really do think Tom would like this one, because it gets rid of the thing that he hated, which was 2 things that he hated. One, it was always difficult to like legitimately understand where the heck the orb was going, even when you're looking at the map and you're like, okay, we rolled.
Right.
Where is this going?
Yeah.
Right. So that it's just hard to understand. And 2, the chaos of it. Right. And just, whereas this is like, where it's going, what's going to happen. Again, I've talked about the nature, the tendency of armies to get into the like sort of clockwork or counterclockwise rotations, right? But this one, I think, does that. Like almost is going to very naturally sort of encourage that, right, as it's happening.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the genius here, the thing that I really, really loved when I read over these earlier, was the control of an objective is lost when an objective relocates. I really love that. Because that means you gotta move, you gotta go take it. Just necessarily standing where you are isn't good enough. It's great. It's great. I'm so strongly here for that.
That came out of the playtesting, in doing this. And the siphoning the orbs, I mean, just to say it, but as you know, that is more or less right out of the core nature of Relocation Orb, how Relocation Orb was oriented, right? Where it really valued wizards and, counting as more, whatnot. Yeah. And artifacts, heroes with artifacts power. So, try to translate that well to the current state of the game. Yeah, man. Like, I've loved this in playtesting so far. I mean, is it the most perfectly balanced competitive match play mission that you're going to have played? No, it's not that. But I think
this is better than like 3 or 4 of the current season's alleged event GHB battle plans. So I think we're fine. Jonathan Straw said you can use your Geminids of Ulgish as objective markers, which I love. That's great. Those would be perfect objective markers. Just the 2 little orbs chasing each other around. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So Jeff talked about doing this in the battle report they're going to do on their Weird Knobs Bat Rep channel, the name of which is escaping. The Weirdcast. That's what it is. Yeah. So looking forward to that. Yeah, man. I was really excited with how this one came out.
I love it. That's great. Okay. Badoop. Scorched Earth. Oh boy, this deployment zone. Tyler, have we created a new deployment zone I've never seen? I don't think we've ever seen this in a map.
Yeah,
Double L's, Tyler, you're mad. You're mad.
I don't know if we have had this. It took a little while to get to this point. Yeah, I was trying to figure out, okay, how to do something different with Scorched Earth. And this is where I arrived. I don't know if we have. I'd have to go back.
What do we call this? The window?
The window, yeah.
The window deployment, I think that's what we call it, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it just made it, this mission more or less is based upon the best version of Scorched Earth has had a lot of different variation over the years, right? In GHBs. And I just took what I thought was generally the best version of it, which is that you can only burn one objective, right? You're not burning, at one point we could burn multiple objectives. Like the early days, 2017, 2018.
Yeah, sure. Just so like their whole line, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. So this one, you can burn up to 1. Well, I'll just read it. From the start of the second battle round, after you score victory points, you can raid 1 objective that you control that starts the game bordering your opponent's territory,
Oh, hold on. And
and
is
yeah,
within 1 inch of a friendly
and within
unit.
1 inch.
Yeah. Very
Yep,
important. Very important.
yep. And so you get your extra victory point that way, and then the objective gets removed to play, and you cannot raid more than one objective per turn. So this was the GHB 2021. It was not called Scorched Earth. It was called something different, but it was essentially Scorched Earth.
Sure.
The 3.0's version of it, yeah. And then everything else is standard. But yeah, dude, I was just trying to figure out what's a way to really change some things up, and
This
came
is
up
a
with
spicy deployment. I gotta say,
yeah,
man, for such a simple thing, like again, the fundamentals. How often do I have to bang on this, right? Like you can do fun
right.
stuff with all those other things, but the fundamentals matter. What a spicy meatball this is.
Mm.
And by let's see, Weekend Decadent said my only regret is the 9 inches away. I would have liked deployment even more with no limits. Like if on the sides you were allowed to get
Oh,
right up on the line, you know?
sure, right. Do a no reward
Um,
without risk style on the
yeah,
on the
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
But I love this. I mean, you talk about like incentive to split your army, right?
right.
Because you can swing basically a couple extra inches up onto each side of the L,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Starting basically like what would it be, 2 inches out? Yeah, 2 inches up. You can be 2 inches into that second zone on top of the objective, right?
Mm.
So it's not huge. I think honestly, legitimately, like with a deployment like this, you could have gotten even wackier. Like
Yeah.
probably starting like up on the line is hard, but I think
Mm.
doing a 6 inch away deployment, so there's a 12 inch no man's land in between
Yeah,
instead of
yeah,
9, could have been really interesting because then you'd get 5 inches up into the zone on each
yeah.
side,
That's
right?
interesting.
And
Yeah.
like I know that doesn't, it's like 2 inches to 5 inches, 3 inches doesn't sound like that much space, but
Mm.
in the game I think like that feels like it matters a lot and would radically change the incentive to deploy out to
Hmm.
those corners,
Right,
right?
right.
And really get wacky with like how people start trying to like split their armies and what's holding your home center objective and like that kind of thing. So, yeah,
That's a very good point. Yeah, I think that's one of the best points of the night so far in terms of potential modifications. So, yeah, no, I think you're right. That may have better expressed the intent of what I was going for here with that extra space to really
sure.
incentivize it. Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean,
Yeah.
like it's just it's again it's a I think what we're sharing here is that oftentimes even like one little small change like that, again,
Mm.
it's 3 inches of deployment on the table
Yeah.
on another a huge amount of table space, right? And yet it will
Mm.
just radically change how people will interact with
Yeah.
their their uh their deployment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
also potentially then again reward, the other advantage of that is it also does reward the higher drop player again, because they can choose
Yes.
to like they can see and then choose to respond by going basically farther out onto those edges or not, depending on
Hmm.
how their opponent did their one drop. So
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, played this one a fair amount. Love it. Yeah, the territory has been a meaningful change in how it plays on average. So yeah.
Weird
All
Knob
right, man.
said I'm ready to edit, just let me know. There we go. Okay.
Nice. Yeah,
uh
buddy. Fire
well,
away.
let's go to the last one here.
Yeah.
Total Conquest.
Hmm.
Uh, Unusual, and you've got the left to right travel there for defender versus attacker. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but we just, for some reason, we always tend to be like on our right hand side. I don't know if like
Hmm.
oftentimes your deployment's clustered around this side of the board. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's because like the majority of the people are like are right handed. I don't know, so we
Yeah.
just tend to think that way.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, take us through this one. The interesting, you
Yeah.
took the Tyler, you lunatic, you took the
Yeah.
objectives off of the lines.
No, I know. Weird. Weird. So wild. So Total Conquest, we've had a couple of variations of that over the years. Uh, in one version, maybe multiple versions, we have what I've added as the key scoring element, uh, which is score one victory point if you control more objectives than your opponent. I'm sorry, score one victory point if you control any objective controlled by your opponent in the last turn. There
There
it
you go.
is.
Yeah,
Getting
you got
tired.
it.
Score one victory point if you control any objective controlled by your opponent in the last turn. Yeah, man. We had, like I said, at least one version of Total Conquest that had that. And then add that with this map. I love this map. So we're 9 off those 2 points. You've said this barely squeaks in under your acceptability standards, so appreciate that.
Yep.
You right, you pretty obviously are going to be potentially playing a lot of the board. Absolutely, this is one of my favorites of the entire battle pack.
Yeah, I like this one a lot, and I'll tell you what makes me love this one. You ready?
Mm,
It's the two corner box objectives.
yeah.
Those things, it's this is one of those things that doesn't you don't think about it
Mm,
when you're just looking at the map, because like the map is it's a little small thing with colored boxes on it, right?
sure.
But when you set this up and you put that objective on the table, the two corner ones, these two, you're
Yeah.
going to be like, holy crap, these are not near anything,
Right.
right?
Right. Yep.
And so, like, when you're going after those, you're making like a decision about what is
Mhm.
happening there. And
Yeah.
it is the fact, like, these are so far, like, because most of the game, let's be honest, happens in this area right here,
Sure.
right? That's
Yeah.
that's like most games we play happens within this like roughly 22 by 30-inch space.
Yeah.
This like war cry board in the middle is where we do most of our fighting.
Right.
Okay. But these two are so outside the lines that
Mm,
if you're going to go over there and claim them and hold them with any kind of strength, this very much pushes people to the outside. I like incentive to get pushed to the outside, to push to those directions. Yeah, this one's pretty darn great.
There's a little
The
nuance with those objectives on the northwest and southeast,
Yeah,
which is that you can deploy and be on them, be contesting them.
depending on which one you're talking about, yes, that's
Yes,
true.
if you're so
So
yeah, if
like
you're
the
if you're
defender can deploy and contest the
exactly.
northwest one. This sorry, I'll just
Yeah.
say it this way. This one, the
Yep.
blue box man can
Yeah.
contest this
There you
one
go.
at setup. Red
Yep.
box person or lady can
Yep.
contest this one at setup, because the nature of this being 15 inches across. This objective is coming shy of right here,
Yes.
but it's extending
Yes.
into, because it's only 11 inches this way. It's extending a half inch into the deployment zone.
Right.
Yes, I agree. Huge deal.
Mm.
Huge deal.
Makes deployment more interesting
Now,
and end
at
game
the
control.
same time,
Yeah.
this is, and again, I love this. That's the benefit of the rectangles. Blue box person, this one right here, the one, so
Mm.
they can't touch this one, right?
Hmm.
They can't get, like, at deployment, they can't be contesting it, but
Right.
they can be contesting this one in the middle,
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, I forgot.
right?
Yeah,
Where
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
like so basically they have easier contest, or like potential contest of, let's just call it like the first one and the third
Mm.
one, whereas the attacker has contest potentially of the
Mm.
second and the fourth.
On the
But
fourth,
again,
right.
because you have those potential contestations, it's then drawing your army wide,
Right. Right.
right? So, yeah, yep, absolutely. Um,
Yeah, and that simple score one victory point if you control any objectives controlled by your opponent in the last turn, right? The gameplay that can introduce in terms of your decision making on what you're controlling, what you're not controlling.
sure.
Yeah, it's made a meaningful difference in the play testing.
And importantly, because it's in the last turn, I assume if I march out, like, let's say they start contesting it, if I march out and take it, and like I go first in one, okay, I go at the
Hmm.
top of one. If I march out and take it, I assume I'm not getting that extra point because they didn't contest it in the last turn, because there was no last turn. This is turn one.
Right. Correct.
Okay, I
Yes.
am I am I am interpreting the rules correctly, right?
Yes. Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. We thought about changing the wording of that to account for the capacity to contest before the start of the game, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some consideration for it. Settled on this, but it would probably work with that orientation as well. Yeah, it might even be more interesting. But yeah,
Yep.
you could go that way with it. But yeah, the like I said, one of my favorites, man. Played this one a lot. It's boy, if you want to play across the entire board, here you go.
It's great. That's great. Yeah.
and,
And then
and
let's
huge
quickly,
deployment,
yeah,
huge deployment territories.
really fun. Dig the heck out of that one. Okay.
Oh my
Uh,
God, what is happening? We're gonna do a show with me in under 2 hours.
This
This
is
can't
great.
be happening.
Okay, let's talk a
Okay,
little
all
about
right.
maps, buddy.
I gotta
So you got
prepare
some
myself
maps
on
here
this
for
one.
folks. Take us through
Yeah.
it. So what's going on here? What's the idea?
Okay, so Warcoda 2.0 terrain maps and guidelines. Optional set of terrain maps guidelines for AOS games with Warcoda 2.0. Again, Rob, Gareth, Jeff, and company not named here who have improved terrain in AOS. Thank you, gentlemen. So terrain guidelines, step one. I just wanted to try to lay out, right, a simple way to do at least one take on what's become pretty standard. So as you know, there's a couple of different variations, right? A few different variations
Sure.
on this whole, like LVO version of pick two, 8 terrain features, 2 area, 2 defensible, slash garrisonable, 2 wildwood slash obscuring, 2 impassable, right?
Yep.
So that's basically what this is doing. So step one, your opponent, I mean, very standard. Your opponent, you each roll a dice, winner choose to be the defender or attacker, sets up terrain, uh, matching the terrain map, standard rules for that. Step three, you're going through that process. Defender selects 6 terrain features. Again, I could have added area terrain here or slash cover. Just went with the core 6, defensible, impassable, obscuring. So 2 of each designation can be used twice. Pretty standard. And then step 4, defender selects 6 terrain features to designate. Here's your scenery effects, right?
Yep.
Arcane, yeah. But you can only use each type of mysterious terrain once. So there's only going to be, 1 arcane, 1 damned. I thought just trying to simplify it, right? Still
Sure.
having scenery effects, not getting too wild. You could do that in a more standard way. You just roll off. And then, yeah, everything else is pretty standard. So I added the optional rule of thumb that, as you know, events we have been using locally and some other events. This seems to be especially a Missouri thing, which may not be saying a lot. I don't know. I haven't seen too many other states pick this up, but I
Okay.
love it. Maybe you don't know about this. If parts of a terrain feature are 4 inches or taller, only those parts are considered impassable.
Unless the
If
whole
a
thing
tr-
is impassable, then the whole thing's
Unless the whole
impassable.
thing has the impassable designation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
That dude, like we've Vault Wars, Gateway Open, a lot of our events in Missouri. We have been doing this for a couple of years now, and it generally fixes all the issues
Hmm.
that you can imagine.
Interesting.
Uh,
Okay.
so, like, there could be some corner cases. Jeff made some points after Vault Wars. Jeff Escatis with rear knobs on why he. Anyway, I won't go into a lot of details with it, but yeah, it's worked really well for us. Big fan. And then these train maps, yeah. What do you think about some of these maps?
Yeah, I think it's good. It just gives people an idea for how to sort of place their terrain. The key with the
Yeah,
the gray circles is not that you have 8 pieces of terrain that look exactly like little circles, right? I mean, obviously
right.
that's not what the point is here. Just to get
Yeah,
everybody on the page, right? What we're talking about is
yeah,
to make sure that they understand on any given game how the
yeah.
terrain could be placed as such to sort of both one incentivize interesting lanes of movement, options
Right,
for how those things are going to be designed in passable garrison, and hence like then controlling the ebb and flow of the game, giving potential
yeah.
cover if you're using larger terrain features like you should be, and they're all kind of the idea being to seat them in that space, right?
Yes.
Generally,
Well,
that more
yeah.
represents kind of the center area of where that terrain, however big it actually would be centered. Yeah.
Exactly. While meeting this again, in step 2 of the guidelines, which is just right out of the standard rules. Each train feature must be more than 3 from the battlefield edge, more than 6 from other train features, more than 3 from objectives. Standard stuff. Did add defensible terrain must be more than 6 inches from objectives. Right. As you
Right.
know, a lot of grand
Yep.
tournaments have added that just to avoid the nonsense of having garrisonable units contesting an objective. Like, yeah, you can get a huge advantage. But yeah, man, yeah, you know that. So try to have quite a bit of variety here, like Border War, right? The 4 there in the middle seem very appropriate. But you've got to follow the guidelines. You don't want to get to 4 huge pieces of terrain that's going to block off, the middle. Follow the guidelines, have appropriate terrain. Yeah, just I'm really excited about these. I hope people will use them, give them a shot. I've used them a lot in playtesting, and just adds great variety. We got so accustomed locally into doing the 3-2-3, right? That you
Sure.
see
Yeah,
in
of course.
like
Three
you
two
walk
three is how
across.
I set up my table like every week,
Yeah,
dude. I'm always doing
exactly.
when I'm setting it up. I'm just like I'm Mister 3-2-3. Like, yep,
Yes,
okay, get them out. 3-2-3. Okay, got it. Or sometimes
100%.
depending on the particulars, it'll end up being 2-3-2. But like it's always that
Right.
variation. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh, like I understand why the World Championships. It seemed to be like every single table, 3-2-3, with two wildwoods in the middle, right? Line of sight blocking. Like I get it, but it's just I think yeah, we 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 have opportunities to have more variety with our tables. And again, I love Gareth was the very first Gareth and Rob with their train packs. They did this. Their TO packs. They've done this with train maps. So
Yep. Just to give everybody a glance then at the other table. So there we go.
yeah.
So you can see kind of what those other missions look like. Yeah, it makes it so there's actually varied setups that's sort of intended and been set to work well with
With yeah.
the mission in question here. You're missing
Yeah.
one of your gold balls, by the way, from Total Conquest, but
Oh,
that's
am I?
okay. Yeah, there's a little
5.
bottom right
Oh, okay. Yeah.
missing gold ball.
That's
People would understand what's going on. It's not the biggest deal
yeah.
in the world.
We'll clean that up.
Uh, Pat Noon, how hard is it to organize TO a tournament? Well, the simple answer is pretty darn hard, just because the amount of logistics you have to go. But Tyler, you've TO'd, so you want to tell me about it? You want to share with Pat your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like we've done an episode on this.
Yeah.
I'm sure other people have. Yeah, so first off, I would recommend finding that episode that we've done. It depends on the scale. Like, did he comment? Again, I'm not following comments. I don't know if he commented on what kind of scale. I would highly recommend just starting with like small scale, like maybe a one dayer at your local from the local gaming store. Look, see if there's anybody else locally who has already done it. Learn from them. Reach out to TOs, and feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, Scrubbing Wells, SCRUBY, and yeah, happy to answer any questions. Overall, like it can be as much work as you want it to be. Some of the big things is obviously you need to have a good location. So FLGS is ideal. Uh, Maybe I don't know, what are some other places, Vince, that you could do
Oh, like for
like
location
a
tournaments?
gym? Yeah,
Sure.
you could
Your
do a
local game
gym. You could
store.
do
You like the VFW halls, a classic one,
VFW.
that
That's
sort
what
of
I'm looking
thing.
for. Yeah.
Anybody
Uh,
like the hotels, like if you've got the money, if it's a larger tournament, you can get a
yeah.
small room at the hotel, like a ballroom. That's a pretty classic thing.
Yeah.
Um, but your major things you're concerned with are you got to have a pack, which there are sample packs available. Some of the great
Yep.
TOs in the country, especially some of the more prolific TOs, have put out um, sort of standardized packs you can
Yeah.
use that give rules for like scoring and missions and painting
To be
and
specific on that,
all the different things
yeah.
you have to think about and take into account. Although
Um,
again, if you're doing like a one day RTT, you can keep it pretty simple,
right.
and there are packs that will
Google
do that.
Google Old Town Throwdown.
Exactly where I was going.
Okay, cool. Generic pack. Just Google that, and you'll be taken right to it. It's a great pack.
Yep, great starter pack, great advanced pack. Frankly, like just good for
Okay.
what you need. You have to have the terrain, or like be at a store where they have terrain you can use. That's oftentimes one of
Yeah.
the biggest inhibitors, especially as a tournament scales up. You think about something like LVO, you think about them needing to support 300 or potentially, but they have registered originally 400 and some players, so
Yeah.
whatever.
We're
So that's
16. Yeah.
200 tables, right? Each table, let's
Right.
say, has 7 or 8 pieces of terrain. Let's just
Hmm.
call it 8 for simplicity's sake. So that means 1,600 pieces of terrain.
Yeah.
Like that scales out of control fast,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So one of the reasons this is a thing we talked about, Tyler, last week,
Mm,
the is that I think more people should run doubles tournaments, like 2-on-2,
hmm.
because you packs like as far as like trying to get into the black as a
Sure.
TO, you get 4 people per table instead of 2 people per table, right? I mean, like
Totally.
it's actually much easier to not lose money as a TO, which is what most TOs are doing this out of the goodness and kindness of their heart. It is not a money making opportunity, and but this can help keep it in the black because you're just
Yeah.
literally doubling your footprint, right?
Right.
It's like the difference in a restaurant world. It's the difference between tables that are 2 tops and tables that are 4 tops. Like the
Yeah.
more tables you can fit in that are 4 tops, the better. So.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, Weird Knobs is right. Hotels are so expensive anymore. It's true, although
Yeah.
that does depend a lot on your local area. Like if you're in a smaller town or in the sticks somewhere in the Midwest, there's still some hotels that'll rent their smaller ballrooms or stuff like that decently
Hmm.
cheaply. Like local jurisdiction or local costs are going to vary wildly across the country.
Yeah.
That is for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I mean, I know here in town, we use obviously, or one of the a great tournament is Brewhammer, and that's obviously run in in like the big back room of a brewery. Like literally, it's in the brewery room, like where the big tanks are or whatever. So
Right.
there's options. You never know who's willing to rent their space. So lots of cool options.
But yeah, hit me up if happy to answer, or hit either of us up. Happy to answer any questions. I mean, that's a massive topic, right?
Yeah,
That's a show in itself. But maybe we should. That might be good to revisit that show. Yeah, based on like
refresh that at some point. So you want to run
yeah
a tournament?
yeah. Based on what I've learned, yeah, the royal we have learned in recent years. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Absolutely, I agree. Tyler, buddy, we did it, man. We kept
Did
it
it?
somehow
Thank-
under 2 hours.
Nope. We 3 minutes over. Thank God. It
That's right.
wasn't.
Sorry, we kept it at around 2 hours. You're right. We're still going to be over the 2 hour mark. Yeah,
Phew.
Weird Knob said in Austin we've got quotes for 35,000. Yeah, that's insane. Like I've seen similar things where it's just like that's
Yeah.
just so nuts, and it's just outrageous. So yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's Austin's pretty crazy as far as I know.
Mm.
But anyways, hey, all of you out there, if you haven't hit like yet, why don't you do that? Help other people find the show. Help other people find Warcoda. Don't forget, you can find the link for it down below. It is
Yeah.
free to download. But if you want to throw Tyler a tip for all his hard work and all the testing and everything like that, that would be a super cool thing to do. You'll find those links on the page, but you can download the maps, you can download the battle plans, you can play them at home. We'll see them in more events. You do already have the Week in the Decadent, where they're
Yeah.
playing using one of these, is linked below, but you can also find it linked on the Warcoda site. You'll see it like linked out there as well. And check out all the other links. Don't forget to share, do all those fun things. If you want to support the show, the best way you can do so this week is by tipping Tyler. Don't worry about all the other stuff down there. There's a bunch of other things you could do. Don't worry about those. If for some or any reason inclined to give us any money, then I would ask you to go put some money in Tyler's tip jar for all of this excellent work with Warcoda. It's fantastic. I know a bunch of these are going to be hitting my table soon. I can't wait to play them.
Good, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
That's good to hear.
Relocation Orb is like first up. I mean, a new Relocation Orb. We're
Yeah.
all excited about it. I agree,
Yeah.
Cygnus. That's like high on my list. I'm gonna try to play it this weekend.
Awesome.
So for all of you out there, thank you so much for watching. Tyler, thank you, buddy. Appreciate all the hard
Yeah,
work.
man.
And thanks for sharing this.
100%.
As always, we appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next Wednesday.